children, I welcome you all to social science class. Hope all of you enjoy the Onam holidays. Now let's begin. Last class we discussed about the role of government in health. Today we are going to learn about how the state government works. In last year you learned about the local government, panchayat, municipal corporation, etc. This year you are going to learn about the works of the state government. Let's see. Okay, let's begin our lesson how the state government works. Last year you learned about the 3 levels of government. The government is working at 3 levels because such a country like India, it is not an easy task to rule or govern. So for the sake of convenience, the government is divided into 3 levels. The working of the government into 3 sections. One is at the local level, second one is at the state level, and third one is at the central or the national level. This is national level rules the entire country, all India. And state level, India is divided into 28 states. Each state is on government to rule. So that is state level government. Again the state level is divided into local level. So for the sake of convenience, each state of India again divided into different districts and rural areas such as panchayat, urban areas such as corporations, etc. That we learned in the last year about the local level government. This year you are going to learn about the state level government. Now let's start how the state government works. Children, every state in India has a legislative assembly. Members of the legislative assembly are known as MLAs. How are the MLAs are elected? People elect these people from the constituencies. Each state is divided into different constituencies. From each constituencies, one MLA is elected. And they are standing in the election in the name of different political parties. Clear? So, in India, there are 28 states in India. Each state, they have their own legislative assembly. And the members of the legislative assembly are known as MLA. The MLA, what is the full form of an MLA? Member of the legislative assembly. So each each constituencies, one MLA is elected. Who elect these MLAs? The people elect the MLAs from each constituencies. For example, Kerala. There are how many constituencies in our state, Kerala? There are 140 constituencies in our state. From each constituency, one MLA is elected. And they are standing in the election in the name of different political parties. Clear? They are standing in the election in the name of different political parties, and from each constituency one MLA was elected. And after this election, these MLAs form which party get more than half of the number of the constituencies. I will give you an example to clear this. So, for example, Kerala 140 constituencies are there. From this, which party won more than half the number of these constituencies, they become the ruling party. They are getting the majority, so they become the ruling party. From each constituency, the MLAs are elected. Then after the election, these MLAs are forming the government, which political party won the majority. And which party get the second position? After the ruling party, they are known as the opposition. So, majority and opposition, I will give you some more clear examples. So, this is clear. Who is an MLA? The member of the legislative assembly are known as MLAs. Every state in India is divided into different constituencies, and the MLAs are elected or chosen from these constituencies, and they are standing in the election in the name of different political parties. So the government has the responsibility to appoint the chief minister and other ministers. And who is the present governor of this state? Our state? Arif Muhammad Khan. So now let's see what is Legislative Assembly. The chief minister and other ministers have the responsibility to run the government. So the decisions are debated or questioned in a assembly that is known as Legislative Assembly. It is a place where all the MLAs, some of them are from ruling party and others are from the opposition. All these MLAs, whether from the ruling party or from the opposition, meet to discuss various things. So it is the place where the decisions are or debating the various decisions taken by the government. Whether it is the MLAs are present in the Legislative Assembly, including the ruling party MLAs and the MLAs from the opposition. So it is a place where all the discussions are taking place or the decisions are taking place. So India is a democratic country. So you know that whatever decisions are taken by the government is formed by the people. People's participation is very important in a democracy. So whatever decisions are taken by the government, that was discussed in this assembly, and based on that only government can take an important decision. So this is not only including the ruling party, opposition party MLAs are also present there. You will see in radios or you will see in television how the Legislative Assembly's functions are going on and what are the problems they discuss, how a decision was taken from this assembly. So this was held by the speaker, and all the MLAs, whether from the ruling party or from the opposition party, are present in this assembly. Clear? What is Legislative Assembly? It is a place where all the MLAs, whether from the ruling party or from the opposition, meet to discuss the various things related to a state. Clear? See, you will get a clear picture about what is majority and what is opposition. For example, in the state of Himachal Pradesh, there are 68 constituencies. Total 68 constituencies. In the last time election, the different political parties who participated in the election, BJP, Indian National Congress, Marxist Party LDF, and the Independent. Some of them are standing without the support of any political party. They are known as independent. In Malayalam, they are known as Swatantra Stanarthi. So, these are the parties who stand in the election. From this, BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, won 44 constituencies. So, from the 44 constituencies, Bharatiya Janata Party's MLAs were elected by the people. From 21 constituency, Indian National Congress MLAs were elected by the people. And for the LDF, they only get one MLA from one constituency. And the independent, they got 2 seats. Among these, you can, when you are looking itself, it is clear which party won more than half the number of the constituencies. The political party, BJP, Bharatiya Janata Party, won more than half, because 68 divided by 2, you will get 34. So, for more than half means more than 34. Who won more than 34 constituencies, they have the right to form the government. From this case, who has got the majority? The Bharatiya Janata Party, they got the majority vote, so they have the right to form the government. All the MLAs, after the election, all the MLAs in this majority or the ruling party, they form the government in this state. And what do you mean by opposition? In this case, it is clear that who has got the second place or the second number of constituencies or MLAs in this election. The Indian National Congress won 21 constituencies or their MLAs chosen or elected from these 21 constituencies. So they have the second place in this election. So who was the opposition party or opposition leaders in this state? Indian National Congress. They have the opposition. In Malayalam we are calling this Pradipaksham. Okay, this Bharanapaksham and the Pradipaksham. So this is ruling party and this is the opposition party. So total 68 constituencies, 44 won by the BJP MLAs, 21 won by the Indian National Congress, LDF 1 seat and independent 2 seats. So by the Janata Party, the majority vote, so they have the right to form the government. They are the ruling party. And Indian National Congress as the opposition party. So dear children, it is clear what do you mean by majority and what do you mean by opposition. In our case, in our state, Kerala, 140 constituencies are there. Now the ruling party is LDF because they won more than half the number of constituencies. And which is the opposition party in our state? You know, it is Congress. And who is the opposition leader? That's all you want to find out and write it in your notebook. So this example is given in your textbook also. Once more, read this. Okay. Children, the next question is, how do people who are MLAs become ministers? So after the election, the MLAs of the ruling party, they select their leader. So, which party won the majority or the ruling party? They after the election they meet and they discuss and they select a leader, and he is known as the Chief Minister. Chief Minister. You know who is the Chief Minister of Kerala? Okay. So, Chief Minister. After the election, the MLAs belonging to the ruling party, they, after the discussion and all, they find out their leader and who will become the Chief Minister. After that, Chief Minister appoints some MLAs in various government departments as ministers. So, among these MLAs, some people are chosen as ministers and they are held in various government departments. They were known as ministers. As a result, some MLAs have dual responsibility. One is an MLA. He was a representative of the people of his constituency from where he was elected. So, he was elected from a particular constituency. He was the leader of that constituency. He was the MLA of that constituency. So, he was responsible towards the people of that constituency because they elect these MLA. So, one of the responsibility as an MLA, sometimes the same MLA has chosen as a minister by the Chief Minister. So, he has a dual responsibility. One as an MLA, other as a minister. Clear? How some MLAs have dual responsibility? One as the MLA, other as a minister. Only few MLAs. So, from these MLAs, the Chief Minister choose or elect some as ministers. So, they have dual responsibility. One as an MLA, other as a minister. Then another important, who appoint this Chief Minister and the other ministers? It is in the hands of Governor of the state. So, who was the governor? He was not appointed by the state government. He was appointed by the central government. He want to appoint the Chief Minister and the other ministers. So, actually, who was the head of the state? Governor is the head of the state. He was appointed by the central government. And who was the head of the government? Chief Minister. But who was the head of the state? Governor. He was appointed by the central government. He want to look after whether these governments are taking their or doing their duties in a proper manner, or they are according to the constitution. They are governing the state according to the rules and regulations of Indian constitution. So, that's the duty of the governor. He was the head of the state. He was appointed by the central government. So government, after this selection of chief minister and other ministers, the governor of the state, he was appointing the chief minister and other ministers. You clear how some MLAs have dual responsibility? One as an MLA, other as a minister. Clear, children? Okay. Children, Legislative Assembly is not the only place where the opinions are expressed about the working of the government. You will see in newspapers, in TV channels, and other organizations are discussed about the works of the government. They are criticizing the works of the government. So, government their works are criticized or observed by various organizations, not only the Legislative Assembly. One example is press conference. This is a familiar word for you nowadays because of the issues of COVID-19. Our Chief Minister is always conducting press conference at 6 o'clock. You will see in news channels the Chief Minister and the representatives from various channels, medias. They are meeting and the Prime Minister is explaining what all actions they take for the prevention of COVID-19. And after his explanation, there is a time for the media to ask questions. Asking questions and they are getting answers from the Chief Minister. That is press conference. So what do you mean by press conference? A gathering of journalists from the media. So from various medias, the journalists are gathering. This gathering is known as press conference, who are invited to hear about and ask questions. Why they are gathering? To hear the conference, who was held the conference, sometimes the Chief Minister or other ministers, health ministers, etc. They are invited to hear this and ask questions. Not only hearing, they have the right to ask questions on particular issue. For a particular issue, the press conference was held. So on that particular day, they can hear the problem or hear the statements of the government. After that, they can ask questions. So they are report on this to the larger public. So after these discussions and questioning, these medias reported how the people know about this. We can see through the TV channels, news channels about this press conference, what all questions asked, what all the important decisions taken by the government and what are the important questions asked by the medias and their answers. So they are published or they report to the larger public. So India is a democratic country. Here people's rule. So we are not directly ruling, representative democracy. So we have the right to know the works of the government. We have the right to know. So this all the way the people knows about the works of the government. We are electing our representative from our constituencies. We are electing our MLAs, and these MLAs, some of them are become ministers, and these MLAs belonging to the ruling party, they are forming the government. They are selecting as one as a leader. He was become the chief minister, and these all are appointed by the governor of the state. So indirectly the peoples have representing, or they are sending the representatives to the Legislative Assembly. So they have the right to know the works of the government, what are the important decisions of the government taken for particular problem or particular issue. So in a democracy, these all are functioning well. So that is why people have the right to know about the works of the government, because they are choosing the government, they are selecting the government, they are electing the government through the voting process. Universal adult franchise. What do you mean by universal adult franchise? It means all the adult citizens have the right to vote. So India is a democratic country. All the citizens of India have the right to vote and choose their leader or their rulers. So this is the lesson how the state government works. Now let's listen to a small video and understand it better.
How the state government works. Hello students, here we will start a new topic on how the state government works. Government works at three levels: local, state, and national. Who is an MLA? Members of the Legislative Assembly are elected by the people. After that, they become members of the Legislative Assembly. In India, every state has a Legislative Assembly. For example, Himachal Pradesh is divided into 68 assembly constituencies. For each constituency, the people elect one representative who then becomes a member of the Legislative Assembly. A political party whose MLA has won more than half the number of constituencies in a state can be said to be in a majority. The political party that has the majority is called the ruling party, and all other members are called the opposition. Bharatiya Janata Party was the major opposition party since it had the largest number of MLAs after the Indian National Congress. Working of the government. In a democracy, there are various ways through which people express their views and also take action. In a democracy, it is the people who elect their representatives as members of the Legislative Assembly, MLAs, and thus it is the people who have the main authority. A wallpaper project. Wallpaper is an interesting activity through which research can be done on particular topics of interest.
I hope you get an idea about the works of the state government. After listening the video, it's more clear to you, isn't it? Yes. Now just recall what we learned. Children, let's recall what we learned. How the state government works. The government works at three levels: local level, state level, and the central level. Who is an MLA? Members of the Legislative Assembly is known as an MLA. Every state in India has a Legislative Assembly. Each state is divided into different areas or constituencies. From each constituency, the people elect the representative who then becomes a member of the Legislative Assembly or MLA. What is the full form of an MLA? Member of the Legislative Assembly. Each state is divided into different constituencies. From each constituency, people elect the representative who then become the member of the Legislative Assembly or MLA. What do you mean by majority? After the election, a political party whose MLAs have won more than half the number of constituencies in a state can be said to be in a majority. And all other members are called the opposition. Once more, after the election, the political party whose MLAs have won more than half the number of constituencies in a state can be said to be in a majority or the ruling party, and the party or which political party got the second position, the members of that party are called the opposition. How do people who are MLAs become ministers? Some MLAs have dual responsibility. One as an MLA, other as a minister. How do they become MLAs and how they become ministers? After the election, the MLAs belonging to the ruling party will elect their leader, who will become the chief minister. The chief minister then selects other people as ministers. As a result, some MLAs have dual responsibility, one as an MLA, other as a minister. Who appoint the MLAs or the chief minister and other ministers? It is the governor of the state who appoints the chief minister and other ministers. Governor is the head of the state. Legislative Assembly. Legislative Assembly is a place where all the MLAs, whether from the ruling party or from the opposition, meet to discuss various things. It is a place where all the MLAs from the ruling party or from the opposition meet to discuss various things. The chief minister and other ministers have to take decisions and run the government. The responsibility is in the hands of the chief minister and other ministers. However, whatever decisions are being taken have to be approved by the members of the Legislative Assembly. Because India is a democratic country. In a democracy, the members can ask questions, debate an important issue, decide where money should be spent, etc. They have the main authority. Press conference. Soon after the discussion in the assembly, in the legislative assembly, there was a press conference organized by the particular minister. If it is related to the health problem, the health minister, or overall problem related to the state, the chief minister, etc. Large numbers of people from different newspapers were present. The minister and some government officials were also present in this meeting. The minister explained the steps the government had taken. Reporters asked many questions at this meeting. These discussions were then reported in different newspapers. That is, press conference. So, a gathering of journalists from the media who are invited to hear about and ask questions on a particular issue and are then expected to report on this to the larger public. Clear, children? These are the important points you want to remember in the lesson. How do the state government works? About MLA, about majority, about opposition, and also about the Legislative Assembly and the press conference. Clear? Now, children, take your notebook and write it down. Define the following. First question, constituency. A particular area from which all the voters living there choose their representatives. Full stop. A particular area from which all the voters living there choose their representatives. Second definition, majority. First point, this is a situation when more than half the number in a group supports a decision or an idea. Second point, a political party whose MLAs have won more than half the number of constituencies in a state can be said to be in a majority. Full stop. Third question, opposition. This refers to elected representatives who are not members of the ruling party and who play the role of questioning government decisions and actions. Fourth one, press conference. A gathering of journalists from the media who are invited to hear about and ask questions on a particular issue and then expected to report on this to the larger public. Answer the following questions. First question, use the terms constituency and represent to explain who an MLA is and how is the person elected. Answer. First point, every state in India has a legislative assembly. Second point, each state is divided into different areas or constituencies. Full stop. Third point, from each constituency, the people elect one representative who then becomes a member of the Legislative Assembly or MLA. Second question, how did some MLAs become ministers? Explain.
Answer. First point. After the elections, the MLAs belonging to ruling party will elect their leader who will become the chief minister. Full stop. Second point. The chief minister then selects other people as ministers. Full stop. Third point. The governor of the state who appoints the chief minister and other ministers. Full stop. Third question. Why should decisions taken by the chief minister and other ministers be debated in the legislative assembly? Answer. First point. A legislative assembly is a place where all the MLAs, whether from the ruling party or from the opposition, meet to discuss various things. Second point, the chief minister and other ministers have to take decisions and run the government. Full stop. Third point, however, whatever decisions are being taken have to be approved by the members of legislative assembly. Last point, fourth point, in a democracy, these members can ask questions, debate an important issue, decide where money should be spent, etc. This is the last point. All of you complete the notes, write legibly, underline important points. I will send a message through the parent eye. That time only you want to send the notebook. Okay, children?
I hope all of you get a clear picture of how do the state government works. All of you read the textbook well. Complete the textbook activity. I said you write the notes legibly and neatly. Tomorrow I will send the online test. All of you prepare well for that. Thank you, children.